They crossed the border not as immigrants, but as business partners. Mexican cartels and American outlaw bikers have formed alliances so powerful, they're rewriting the rules of organized crime. Tonight, we expose the dirty deals that turn motorcycle clubs into cartel enforcement arms and transform gang wars into international conspiracies worth billions of dollars. Opening the unholy alliance. The ATF agent couldn't believe what he was seeing. During Operation Black Biscuit, a 21-month undercover infiltration of the Hells Angels, Agent J. Dobbins discovered something that changed everything law enforcement thought they knew about American biker gangs. The Arizona Hells Angels weren't just producing methamphetamine independently. They were working directly with Mexican drug cartels, coordinating smuggling operations, sharing resources, and creating distribution networks that spanned from Tijuana to Boston. This wasn't an isolated incident. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, major outlaw motorcycle gangs, including the Hells Angels, Mongols, Bandidos, and Outlaws, now coordinate drug smuggling operations in partnership with major international drug trafficking organizations. The Big Four motorcycle gangs pose what federal authorities call a serious national domestic threat, specifically because of their transnational cartel connections. But here's what makes these alliances truly terrifying. They're not temporary business arrangements. These are strategic partnerships that have fundamentally transformed both organizations, creating hybrid criminal enterprises that combine the international reach and resources of Mexican cartels with the established domestic networks and enforcement capabilities of American biker gangs. The result? A criminal ecosystem worth over $1 billion annually, according to FBI estimates, that operates across all 50 states and multiple countries, immune to traditional law enforcement tactics, designed to combat either cartels or biker gangs separately. The perfect marriage. Why cartels need bikers? To understand how this alliance formed, you need to understand what each side brings to the partnership. Mexican cartels control the production and initial transportation of drugs, but they face a crucial vulnerability: operating on American soil. Cartel members crossing into the United States risk immediate deportation if caught. They don't have established networks, safe houses, or distribution channels. Most importantly, they don't understand American criminal culture, law enforcement tactics, or prison systems. Outlaw motorcycle gangs solve every one of these problems. First, bikers provide immediate territorial control. The Mongols control Southern California. The Outlaws dominate the Great Lakes region and Canadian border smuggling routes. The Bandidos have massive influence across Texas and the Mexican border. Each of these territories represents billions of dollars in potential drug market access. Second, they provide enforcement without exposure. When cartels need someone intimidated, murdered, or kidnapped on American soil, they can't risk sending their own operatives. But a phone call to a biker ally can arrange professional violence with complete deniability. Third, they offer sophisticated money laundering operations. Motorcycle clubs run legitimate businesses, auto shops, bars, security companies that provide perfect fronts for washing drug money. The Hells Angels alone may earn up to $1 billion annually in drug sales, according to the FBI, much of it laundered through club-associated businesses. Most importantly, bikers provide something cartels desperately need: respect in American prisons. When cartel operatives get arrested, they're vulnerable targets. But partnership with established motorcycle gangs provides immediate protection and status within the U.S. prison system. ATF agent J. Dobbins discovered during his undercover operation that Hells Angels members would fabricate stories about arming the Solo Angeles in Mexico to combat a Mongols chapter there, demonstrating how easily the organizations could coordinate cross-border operations while maintaining plausible cover stories. Operation Black Biscuit, inside the cartel connection. The most detailed look inside cartel biker partnerships came from Operation Black Biscuit, the ATF's unprecedented infiltration of the Hells Angels between 2001 and 2003. What agents discovered went far beyond simple drug dealing. Agent J. Dobbins, operating under the identity J. Bird Davis, posed as a gun runner, and debt collector with connections to Mexican cartels and casino mafias. His cover story was perfect for the role. He claimed to be acquiring firearms for Mexican cartels while also working as muscle for various criminal enterprises. The operation began after the deadly River Run riot at Harrah's Casino in Laughlin, Nevada on April 27, 2002, where Hells Angels and Mongols members fought a running gun battle in front of hundreds of witnesses. The violence left 3 bikers dead and dozens wounded, all captured on casino security cameras. But what the ATF discovered during their investigation shocked even experienced agents. The Arizona Hells Angels weren't just selling drugs to cartels, they were integrated partners in international smuggling operations. The investigation revealed that Hells Angels members were producing methamphetamine both independently and in conjunction with Mexican drug cartels. They had established sophisticated coordination with cartel operations, sharing production facilities, transportation routes, and distribution networks. Greg Snake Surdukin and Chris Porker Baucom, president and vice president of the Hells Angels Arizona Nomads chapter, were arrested in June 2001 for operating an international drug network involving methamphetamine smuggling from South Africa to the United States, an operation that required cartel-level logistics and international connections. The sophistication level was unprecedented. These weren't street-level dealers buying drugs wholesale. These were strategic partners coordinating multi-million-dollar international operations with military precision. The Sinaloa Hells Angels connection. While Operation Black Biscuit exposed cartel biker partnerships in Arizona, intelligence agencies have identified an even more significant alliance: the growing partnership between the Sinaloa cartel and the Hells Angels, particularly along the northern U.S. border. Recent intelligence reports indicate this partnership has made the Canadian border a major smuggling corridor for fentanyl and other drugs. While law enforcement and media attention focus on the southern border with Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel has established sophisticated production facilities in Canada, what authorities call super labs, that produce fentanyl closer to major U.S. markets. The cartel's strategy is brilliantly simple: establish production in Canada where precursor chemicals are more easily obtained through Asian trafficking networks, then use the Hells Angels' established networks to smuggle finished products across the less monitored northern border. Law enforcement sources report that the Sinaloa cartel has formed alliances with local Asian drug traffickers in Vancouver, particularly those of Chinese and Vietnamese descent, who specialize in obtaining chemical precursors from Asia. These chemicals are then supplied to cartel-run laboratories that produce fentanyl for distribution through Hells Angels networks. The partnership benefits both sides enormously. The cartel gains access to established smuggling routes and distribution networks throughout the United States and Canada. The Hells Angels gain access to steady supplies of high-quality drugs at wholesale prices, plus the protection and resources of one of the world's most powerful criminal organizations. Canadian authorities have discovered that this alliance has made it alarmingly easy to transport narcotics from Canada into the United States, particularly through remote stretches of the US-Canada border in states like Montana and North Dakota, where surveillance is limited compared to the Mexican border. The Hells Angels' extensive network and mobility allows them to move fentanyl and other drugs across these less guarded areas with minimal risk, while the cartel maintains strategic distance from direct US operations. The Bandidos, specialists in border smuggling. While the Hells Angels focus on the northern border, the Bandidos Motorcycle Club has established themselves as the premier cartel partners for traditional Mexico-Texas border smuggling. With more than 5,000 members worldwide and deep roots in Texas, the Bandidos are perfectly positioned for this role. The Bandidos' specialty is drug smuggling across the US-Mexican border, and their members have been accused of multiple murders related to cartel enforcement activities. Their Texas base gives them control over crucial smuggling corridors that cartels need to access American markets. But the Bandidos cartel relationship goes far beyond simple transportation. Recent federal indictments have revealed the depth of this integration. In February 2025, the Department of Justice unsealed charges against 14 members of the Bandidos for their roles in a criminal enterprise engaged in murder, robbery, arson, narcotics distribution, and witness intimidation. The investigation revealed that Bandidos' leadership had declared war on the rival BEAST motorcycle gang and issued smash on-site orders, authorization to commit physical assaults, including murder against rivals. But what made this case significant was the international scope. The Bandidos were coordinating these operations with cartel partners to control specific territories and smuggling routes. The indictment identified the Bandidos as having approximately 1,500 to 2,000 members in the United States and an additional 1,000 to 1,500 members internationally, including in Mexico. This international presence allows them to coordinate seamlessly with Mexican cartels on both sides of the border. Court documents revealed that violent turf wars between the Bandidos and rival gangs resulted in gunfire exchanged on public roadways and in public establishments with innocent civilians present, tactics that mirror cartel enforcement methods in Mexico. The partnership has become so integrated that traditional law enforcement approaches, designed to combat either motorcycle gangs or cartels separately, prove largely ineffective against the hybrid operations. The Mongols, cartel enforcers in Southern California. The Mongols motorcycle club represents perhaps the most violent example of cartel biker partnerships. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has called the Mongols the most violent and dangerous outlaw motorcycle gang in the nation, and their cartel connections explain much of their power. Founded by Hispanic bikers who were denied entry to the Hells Angels due to racial discrimination, the Mongols seized control of Southern California from the Hells Angels in the 1980s. And have maintained that control through systematic violence and strategic cartel alliances. The Mongols' membership consists primarily of Hispanic males from the Los Angeles area, many of whom are former street gang members with established connections to Mexican criminal networks. This cultural and linguistic bridge makes them ideal partners for cartels operating in Southern California. The partnership extends far beyond drug trafficking. The Mongols maintain their ties with Hispanic street gangs in Los Angeles, creating a multi-layered criminal network that includes motorcycle gangs, street gangs, and international cartels. This alliance has made Southern California one of the most valuable criminal territories in the United States. The Mongols provide cartels with established distribution networks, enforcement capabilities, and protection services that would take decades to develop independently. The relationship has also spread internationally. Australian authorities have documented deep connections between the Mongols and Mexican cartels in the lucrative Australian cocaine market, where prices can reach $250,000 per kilogram compared to $16,000 in Texas. Warren Gray of the Australian Crime Commission reported a deepening alliance between Mexican drug cartels and Australian bike gangs, with the Sinaloa cartel having a major stake in Australia's expanding cocaine market. This international expansion demonstrates how cartel biker partnerships have evolved beyond simple domestic arrangements into truly transnational criminal enterprises. The Texas Syndicate, prison gang turned cartel alley. The partnership between cartels and American gangs extends beyond traditional motorcycle clubs into the prison system, where organizations like the Texas Syndicate have become crucial cartel allies. The Texas Syndicate, established in California's Folsom Prison in the 1960s as protection against other prison gangs, has evolved into a transnational criminal organization with approximately 19,000 members in prisons and jails statewide, plus thousands more on the outside. What makes the Texas Syndicate particularly valuable to cartels is their unique position in the American prison system. When cartel operatives are arrested and imprisoned in the United States, they need immediate protection and status. The Texas Syndicate provides both. The relationship has become so integrated that Texas Syndicate members now perform contract killings for cartels. In 2006, Texas Syndicate members were arrested for the contract killing of Julio A. Serrano, hired by the Gulf Cartel to kidnap Serrano from his home in Texas and transport him to cartel members in Mexico. Even more shocking, high-ranking Texas Syndicate member Ernesto Medrano was sentenced to life in prison in 2007 for using U.S. military flights to transport hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Colombia to Fort Bliss, Texas, an operation that required unprecedented coordination between American gang members and international drug trafficking organizations. The Texas Syndicate has established working relationships with multiple cartels, including the Gulf Cartel, Los Zetas, and the Juarez Cartel. These partnerships allow cartels to operate effectively within the American prison system, while providing the Texas Syndicate with access to wholesale drug supplies and international criminal resources. Barrio Azteca, the ultimate hybrid organization. The most complete example of cartel biker integration is Barrio Azteca, a gang that began in Texas prisons, but evolved into a transnational criminal organization that serves as both an American gang and a Mexican cartel enforcement unit. Founded in the Caulfield unit near Tennessee Colony, Texas, in the early 1980s by Jose Raulio Rivera, Barrio Azteca initially formed for protection against other prison gangs like the Texas Syndicate and Texas Mexican Mafia. But Barrio Azteca's location in El Paso, directly across from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, created unique opportunities. The gang expanded across the border and formed an alliance with La Línea, the armed wing of the Juarez Cartel, in 2008. This alliance transformed Barrio Azteca from a prison gang into a transnational hybrid organization. Today they have approximately 3,000 members in the United States and 5,000 members in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. What makes Barrio Azteca unique is their complete integration with cartel operations. They don't just work with the Juarez Cartel, they are part of the Juarez Cartel's structure. When the Sinaloa Cartel invaded Ciudad Juarez in 2008, Barrio Azteca was called to defend the plaza. The gang operates as both American street gang and Mexican cartel enforcement unit. In the United States, they engage in traditional gang activities, drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and territorial control. In Mexico, they serve as cartel soldiers in battles against rival organizations. This dual identity allows them to coordinate operations on both sides of the border seamlessly. When cartels need enforcement in the United States, they call on the American side of Barrio Azteca. When American gang operations require cartel-level resources, they access them through their Mexican connections. The integration became so complete that Barrio Azteca members carried out the March 2010 assassination of U.S. consulate employee Leslie Enriquez, her husband Arthur Radelfs, and Jorge Alberto Salcido, husband of another consulate employee in Ciudad Juarez. This attack on American diplomatic personnel demonstrated how cartel gang partnerships had evolved beyond criminal enterprise into acts that bordered on international terrorism. The global expansion, Australia and beyond. The Cartel Biker Alliance has expanded far beyond North America, creating truly international criminal networks that law enforcement struggles to combat. In November 2022, Australian police arrested 2 men suspected of belonging to an international drug trafficking ring with ties to Mexican gangs. One suspect was a senior member of the Comanchero Motorcycle Club, demonstrating how cartel biker partnerships have spread to Australia. The operation resulted from a 16-month investigation involving the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, highlighting the international scope of these alliances. Authorities seized $30,000 in cash, 2,400 pills, and 350 grams of unidentified white powder, all shipped from the United States. Stephen Fontana of Victoria Police reported that narcotics were being shipped into Australia on flights from the United States, indicating sophisticated logistics coordination between American and Australian criminal networks with Mexican cartel backing. The economics drive this expansion. While cocaine sells for $16,000 per kilogram in Brownsville, Texas, the same kilogram can fetch $250,000 in Sydney, Australia. These profit margins justify the costs and risks of international coordination. DEA Intelligence Chief Rodney Benson confirmed that cartels have recognized a place like Australia, where the price of cocaine can yield them a much greater profit margin compared to selling a kilogram here in the United States. The expansion isn't limited to Australia. DEA reports document cartel connections with criminal groups in Mozambique, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ghana, Nigeria, and throughout Europe. Italian authorities revealed ties between Mexican cartels and Italian organized crime groups, with hundreds of tons of cocaine shipped across the Atlantic Ocean inside industrial ovens by Italian brothers Elio and Bruno Girardi, who operated from Monterrey, Mexico. These international partnerships demonstrate that cartel biker alliances have evolved into a global criminal network that transcends traditional boundaries between motorcycle gangs, drug cartels, and organized crime families. The law enforcement response. Why traditional law enforcement approaches prove largely ineffective against cartel biker alliances because they are designed to combat either domestic gangs or international cartels, not hybrid organizations that combine both. The 2014 Texas Gang Threat Assessment identified this challenge explicitly. The most dangerous gangs in Texas, Tango Blast, Texas Mexican Mafia, Barrio Azteca, and Texas Syndicate, all collaborate to a certain degree with the most powerful Mexican groups. The report noted that these partnerships represent an ongoing exportation of Mexican cartel influence into the state, creating criminal enterprises that operate beyond traditional jurisdictional boundaries. Operation Black Biscuit, despite being deemed a success by the ATF, ultimately demonstrated the limitations of traditional investigative approaches. After 21 months of undercover work and extensive evidence gathering, only half the defendants plea bargained to lesser offenses, 5 had federal charges dismissed, and the plea agreements resulted in sentences of no more than 5 years. The investigation successfully penetrated the organization, but couldn't effectively prosecute the hybrid nature of the criminal enterprise. Traditional racketeering charges proved inadequate against organizations that seamlessly blend domestic gang activity with international cartel operations. Current federal legislation attempts to address this challenge by designating major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. In 2025, the Department of State designated the Sinaloa Cartel, Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, and 6 other organizations as both FTOs and specially designated global terrorists. But these designations focus on the Mexican organizations, not their American partners or the hybrid enterprises they have created together. The new face of organized crime. The alliance between Mexican cartels and American outlaw motorcycle gangs represents a fundamental evolution in organized crime. These aren't temporary business relationships. They're strategic partnerships that have created hybrid criminal enterprises worth billions of dollars annually. The Hells Angels controlling northern border, smuggling routes for the Sinaloa cartel. The Bandidos coordinating enforcement operations for multiple Mexican organizations. The Mongols serving as cartel representatives in Southern California's lucrative drug markets. Barrio Azteca, operating as both American gang and Mexican cartel enforcement unit. These partnerships combine the international reach and resources of Mexican cartels with the established domestic networks and enforcement capabilities of American biker gangs. The result is a criminal ecosystem that operates across all 50 states and multiple countries, immune to traditional law enforcement tactics. The economics are staggering. The FBI estimates that the Hells Angels alone may earn up to $1 billion annually in drug sales. When multiplied across all major motorcycle gangs and their cartel partnerships, the total economic impact reaches tens of billions of dollars. But the true significance goes beyond money. These alliances have created criminal organizations that transcend traditional boundaries between domestic gangs and international cartels. They operate with the sophistication of multinational corporations while maintaining the violence and territorial control of traditional organized crime. Law enforcement agencies designed to combat either motorcycle gangs or drug cartels separately find themselves outmatched by hybrid organizations that combine the strengths of both while minimizing the vulnerabilities of either. The cartel's dirty deal with American biker gangs hasn't just changed how drugs are trafficked across borders. It's created an entirely new form of organized crime that challenges everything law enforcement thought they knew about combating criminal enterprises in the 21st century. These aren't separate criminal organizations doing business together. They're integrated transnational enterprises that represent the evolution of organized crime itself, and they're operating in a neighborhood near you. Hit that subscribe button if this investigation opened your eyes to the hidden alliances shaping organized crime in America. Share this with anyone who needs to understand how international cartels have established permanent footholds in American communities through partnerships with domestic biker gangs. The next time you see a motorcycle club, remember, you might be looking at the American face of Mexican cartel operations.